Hey there, family of God. I want to talk to you about a rapture dream that I had. It's been a long time, almost 40 years ago. And I didn't ask God for a dream specifically, but I did ask him a question. And I guess that question inspired him to give me this dream. And so it's been a long time ago, and I was newly saved, but I was still very reluctant to tell anybody about my newfound faith. I was ashamed of the gospel of Christ, but wanting all the benefits of being a child of God. And so back in the day, I had this little girlfriend, and we were really inappropriately active. But after a while, I began to be convicted by the Holy Spirit, and I couldn't take it anymore. And so I told her about my newfound faith, and she didn't react the way the way I thought she would. And she called me a Jesus freak and told me to get out. I said, get out, go where? And she said, get out. And so I was at her apartment without my car there. I rode in with her. And so it just looked like I was stuck and having to walk back home. And so you got to realize back then there was no Uber. We're kind of in a rural area. There were no taxi cabs that serviced that area. And I had a long journey ahead of myself. But I expected her to have some empathy on me and just jump in the car, come scoop me up, take me home. But she didn't. And that broke my heart. I expected her not to be mad, but she was mad. And so I walked all night in the freezing rain on crutches to my apartment. But as I walked, I began to cry out to God and ask Him why. I had no idea that this was part of the journey. So I asked Him, why is this happening to me? And I remember fighting with even staying in the faith at that point. And I was so wounded and hurt that I asked Him a question. And that question was, what do I have to look forward to if I walk this thing out with you? And I finally made it to my little basement apartment, and I was cold and soaking wet. And I was so tired that I just passed out on my little couch that led out into a bed. But in my sleep, the Lord answered my question in the form of a rapture dream. And so the dream began with me and my sisters driving to the store. We all got out and went in. And as they continued to shop, I got what I wanted and I left. And they saw me outside and they said, hey, bro, you want us to take you the rest of the way? I was like, I'm good. And so I made my way to the street. I popped the tab on my soda pop and began to prepare my dart into the street. Now, take in consideration, this was almost 40 years ago. And in the dream, even though I was a young man, in reality, in the dream, I was my age now, which I'm 57. And I remember thinking in my dream, he's still able to run out into the traffic like that. But I did. And as I took my first steps, everything suddenly changed. Now, I didn't hear a trumpet or anything like that. Bombs weren't falling or anything like that, but I knew that something had taken place. I began to rise faster, faster, higher and higher. I was going up and I saw the tops of buildings. Then I saw the tops of trees. Then I saw the landscape of the community. Then the landscape of the city, the layout of the city. Faster, faster, higher and higher. We began to rise. And I remember, I'll never forget it. It was like yesterday. I saw these orbs of light off into the distance. And I realized as they got closer that they were people. And I was one of them. And then further off in the distance and higher up, there was one that was brighter than all the rest. And as it approached, we realized that it was Jesus and how exciting it was. And as we all ascended into the clouds, the excitement grew. It was like a buzz, a humming in our spirit. It was, and we were exuberant and excited and overjoyed. No one said a word. The energy said it all. And we got to a point in the clouds where we rested on what seemed like nothing. And the only person that I recognized during my ascension was the person who brought me to the Lord. As we sat together and waited, then I woke up. Man, you know, well, it's how I woke up. I woke up in my apartment to a strong masculine voice that was pleasant, but you said one word firmly, and you just said my name, Jay. And I woke up and I remember being startled because I didn't live with nobody, especially not a man, you know. And I was like, where did that come from? And I realized after I got myself together that I was late for work. And I was in the military, so I was late. And you can't be late. But I hadn't laundered a uniform. And I knew that being late because I didn't have a uniform laundered would really get me in trouble. But when I got up, I realized, hey, I got on pajamas, which I never wore pajamas back then. And my sofa bed was let out and I had been sleeping in it. It was the most amazing thing. My clothes were hung up and drip drying in the bathroom, and a freshly laundered uniform was in the closet, which I knew I didn't do it. It was the most life altering experience that I have ever had. And it's changed the trajectory of my whole life. It has made me fearless. God showed me by answering my question what I would have to look forward to if I were to walk this thing out with Him. And so here we are today. So it's time to be fearless and live for the Lord because He died for us. Why would we want to die when He already died for us? Why would we not want to get this thing right and end up even taking a mark or becoming a tribulation saint? I'd rather go up the first time. So let's get off the fence and do what He last called us to do because being left behind after He comes back for the church won't be a pleasant experience. Choose Jesus today. Live for Jesus today because tomorrow may very well be too late. Shalom.